Today's top stories. PHIVOLCS reports ash and earthquakes from Mayon volcano. The AFP and PNP discuss the deployment of additional troops to provinces with peace and order issues. The Philippine Information Agency or PIA launches a book series on the achievements of Philippine media. And the Health Department warns the public against self-medication using antibiotics.
Good day, I'm Pia Rosas Moratong.
And I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Mayon volcano is showing signs of activity again as ash explosions and quakes are recorded from the area.
PHIVOLCS warns the public to stay away from Mayon despite showing little signs of a larger explosion ahead. Rom Dulfo has this story.
Mayon volcano has shown signs of activity after months of dormancy. Mayon spewed up to 500 meters of grayish to grayish-white ash early today. Phreatic eruptions were also recorded from the volcano, aside from almost 2,000 tons of sulfur dioxide yesterday. Alert level 2 is currently raised over Mayon. PHIVOLCS has prohibited any activity around the volcano's 6-kilometer permanent danger zone. The public is also advised not to approach the 7-kilometer extended danger zone and to beware of possible rockfall and ashfall. Mayon was under alert level 4 until March when its volcanic activity subsided. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
The Philippine National Police vows to strictly enforce the ban on police personnel patronizing casinos. This as President Duterte warned cops against going to casinos, particularly the Okada Resort and Casino in Parañaque, which he described as a den of kidnappers and ussurers. PNP spokesperson Benigno Durana says police are covered by the Code of Conduct and Ethical Standards for government employees. He adds government employees, uniformed personnel, students, and minors are not allowed under law inside casinos. Back in 2016, Executive Secretary Salvador Mediadea signed Memorandum Circular 6, which reiterates a casino ban on government personnel.
The Department of Information and Communication Technology is confident that new telco player Ms. Latel will ensure the protection of the data and information of its users. Ms. Latel earlier dispelled fears that its foreign partner China Telecom could threaten national security as it has made data protection its top priority. Outgoing DICT Acting Secretary Elisea Rio is confident that Ms. Latel can secure the data and information of its subscribers. Rio is also sure that incoming DICT Secretary Gregorio Nasan will do his part to look after the interests of the Filipino telco users. As DICT Chief, Nasan will be in charge of overseeing the process of setting up the third telco. Meanwhile, Rio reminds the public to be responsible users of telco services by protecting their online identity and data from their end.
In a bid to improve the image of the police, the PNP says it will allow its police officers to participate in the shooting of scenes in the drama series Ang Provinciano. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde says they agreed to the request of TV network ABS-CBN to use real cops to make police operation scenes more realistic. Police officers will also be tapped as advisors and consultants to make the portrayal of the police force more realistic. The network assures that the participation of cops won't affect their duties. The PNP signed a memorandum of understanding with ABS-CBN and the Interior and Local Government to address the concerns of the government agencies about the series. Albayalde, however, clarified they do not want to interfere with the plot of the series.
Hundreds of female cyclists held a campaign against violence, and the Philippine Information Agency launches a book series on Philippine media. More on these and other news around the metro from Benj Mondo.
More than 200 participants joined a cycling event campaigning for the elimination of violence against women in the Philippines. The United Nations Women, Philippines, and the Belgium Embassy in Manila led the event in Intramuros to commemorate the 2018 International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls on November 25. Belgian Ambassador Michel Goffin says Belgium has dedicated its efforts and resources to combat gender-based violence. Meanwhile, the Philippine Information Agency launched a book collection that highlights the country's initiatives and achievements in information and media in the past 3 decades. The book series seeks to showcase the Philippines' best practices in communication. PIA Director General Harold Clavite hopes that this series will become a reference in terms of the ways forward in information and communication as an ASEAN community. In other news, a special job fair for persons with disability will be held on December 5 in Quezon City. Private companies and government agencies are expected to participate and ready to take in qualified PWDs into their workforce. This is in compliance with Republic Act 10524, mandating the hiring of persons with disabilities. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Bench Bondo.
Still to come, the AFP and PNP discuss the deployment of additional troops to provinces with peace and order issues. A 3-hour fire destroys a supermarket in Legazpi City. More on this when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Malacanang released the appointments of former Marine Captain Nicanor Faeldon as Director General of the Bureau of Corrections and Senator Gringo Honasan as the new Secretary of the Department of Information and Communications Technology. Under the initiative, China Telecom's international submarine telecommunications cable will directly connect the Philippines with Hong Kong and the United States, which uses fiber optics technology to carry signal and digital data by way of a submarine cable stretching across the oceans. Data released by the Department of Budget and Management showed infrastructure spending boosted government expenditures in the first 3 quarters of the year to 2.49 trillion pesos. President Rodrigo Duterte had a fruitful and productive participation at the APEC Summit in Papua New Guinea and the ASEAN Summit in Singapore, where he advanced the Philippines' interests and prioritized the upholding and promotion of its key positions. President Rodrigo Duterte and Chinese President Xi Jinping witnessed the signing of 29 agreements on bilateral cooperation in various areas during the latter's state visit to Manila.
The police and military are holding a joint Peace and Order Council meeting in response to Malacanang's order to quell lawless violence. The palace earlier ordered to send additional troops to Samar, Negros, and Bicol region to prevent an outbreak of violence. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde left for Davao City to join the Peace and Order Council meeting, where police and military will discuss their coordinated action. The PNP chief says they will send a company each of Special Action Force troops to Samar and Bicol region. They will also realign the existing SAF troops in Negros. Albayalde also reiterates that Memorandum Order 32 is not a prelude to nationwide martial law.
The economy stands to gain more aside from the infrastructure as lower oil prices are seen to narrow the trade deficit. More on this from Miguel Hill.
The trade deficit is expected to decline slightly next year as the country continues to invest in infrastructure initiatives, which bodes well for the economic growth outlook. BPI Chief Economist Emilio Neri Jr. says the trade deficit might narrow a bit next year because oil prices will be lower. On the other hand, investment spending would not slow down because of both the public and private sector's infrastructure initiatives. NERI cited recent estimates which reasonably assume that average global oil prices will rise modestly in 2019 compared to this year's unusual surge of more than 40%. He pointed out that there was still pressure on the peso as an elevated trade gap could push the current account position in deficit. Despite the wide trade gap caused by import surge, the government remains committed to implementing infrastructure projects under the Build program. Socioeconomic Planning Secretary Ernesto Peña earlier said the country's import payments are seen to remain elevated until 2019 due to imports of goods and materials to sustain the government's infrastructure and manufacturing resurgence programs. Government data indicates the country's balance of trade in goods increased to $3.93 billion deficit in September 2018 from the $1.75 billion during the same month last year. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
The business community mourns the passing of Metrobank founder and group chairman Dr. George T. The bank's management announced that he died Friday at the age of 86. He was reported to have been battling pancreatic cancer for months. T founded Metrobank in 1962 and expanded this to a conglomerate that now includes joint ventures with several international companies. Memorial services started on Sunday, November 25 at the Heritage Park, Taguig City.
Police in Iloilo City arrested a village councilor who was on the drug list of President Duterte. Councilor Gemma Calzado of Barangay Kasing-Kasing, Molo, Iloilo City was arrested in a buy-bust operation on Sunday morning. Police recovered 8 sachets of suspected shabu worth about 10,000 pesos. Calzado was listed as a Level 2 high-value target. Calzado ran for councilor in their village after she finished her 3 terms as village chief.
A fire burns down a supermarket in Legazpi City and police allies fears of terrorist attacks in eastern Visayas. More on these stories from the provinces from Maricor Zapata.
A 3-hour fire destroyed the Save More supermarket in Barangay Bitano, Legazpi City on Sunday. The fire reportedly started at the cold storage of the supermarket's warehouse. Firefighters placed the area under control around noontime. Investigators have yet to finish their probe on what actually caused the fire. Meanwhile, the PNP says residents in eastern Visayas have nothing to worry about after a suspected terrorist was shot dead and a bomb exploded, killing 2 people in Lawang, northern Samar. Police said the 2 incidents this week do not mean terrorists have already penetrated the region. The PNP assures that law enforcement agencies have been conducting intelligence gathering and monitoring to prevent a spillover of terrorist activities in eastern Visayas. In Negros Occidental, operatives seized more than 1 million pesos worth of suspected shabu in various anti-drug operations in Bacolod and 3 other cities. In Bacolod alone, about 730,000 pesos worth of illegal drugs were seized by police operatives in 4 separate buy-bust operations. About 11 suspects, including high-profile drug personalities and members of syndicates, were arrested. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Maricor Zapata.
Up next, the Health Department warns the public against self-medication using antibiotics. And Filipino fighters dominate their respective title matches in the One Championship event. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
This is Secretary Martin Andanar, and you're watching.
Dito to, pagdating natin dito. like to welcome our friends from Kyodo News, Daisuke Nakai, from the Wall Street Journal, Rob Taylor, from the Financial Times, Lucy Hornsby, All-Star International Media, Suki, and All-Star International Media, Papua New Guinea, Jasmine. Thank you for coming over. We also have a reporter from CCTV. So I just want you to have a copy. I mean, if you go to the Philippines and happen to cover, at least you have this. So it's a handbook on personal security measures for media practitioners. I believe this is the Presidential Task Force on Media Security is the first task force ever created by a head of state in the world. Thank you.
The Department of Health warns the public against misusing antibiotics, especially those being treated with infectious diseases. The DOH intensified its campaign to increase public awareness on antimicrobial resistance, or AMR, which is becoming a serious health concern. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said AMR comprises the ability of medicine to treat infectious ailments worldwide. World Health Organization Country Representative Gundo Weiler says the major causes of AMR includes misuse and overuse of antibiotics, incorrect treatment practices, and infection-causing habits. In connection, Duque urged the public to avoid self-medication, which is common among Filipinos who want to avoid medical costs.
For our foreign news, the United States closed down its checkpoint in the Mexico border as authorities await action on thousands of immigrants seeking asylum. U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to close border checkpoints with Mexico as a means of fighting illegal immigration. Mexican authorities had agreed to Trump's Remain in Mexico proposal, where migrants who wish to seek asylum will stay in Mexico until a decision on their request is made. Around 5,600 migrants from Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador were staying near the border cities of Tijuana and Mexicali. The White House has ordered U.S. troops to act against those who will try to breach the border, including using lethal force.
Filipino MMA fighters showed their prowess in the Conquest of Champions at the Mall of Asia Arena in Pasay. Brandon Vera made a triumphant return to one championship by knocking out Mauro Cirilli in the main event. Vera needed barely a minute to finish off Cirilli as he countered Cirilli's huge right hook with a left hook of his own. Meanwhile, Edward Folayang reclaimed the erstwhile vacant one lightweight belt after beating Singaporean opponent Amir Khan via unanimous decision in the co-main event. Honorio Banario bounced back from his defeat against Amir Khan last September with a victory over India's Rahul Raju. Jeremy Miado knocked out Chinese fighter Peng Se-wen. On the other hand, Rocky Baktol failed to hold as he fell prey to Akihiro Fujisawa.
When Muslims in Mindanao face disputes whose remedies fall under Islamic customs, they turn to the Sharia courts.
These special courts settle cases not normally covered by the country's laws, such as divorce. Rom Dulfo has the report.
While other couples in troubled relationships continue to wait for a divorce law from Congress, irreconcilable Muslim husbands and wives have it easier to part ways. Presidential Decree 1083, otherwise called the Code of Muslim Personal Laws of the Philippines, established Sharia courts in Mindanao to settle legal conflicts in the sphere of customary and personal Muslim laws. Sharia courts handle cases such as divorce, property disputes, child support, dowry questions, degrees of affinity or consanguinity, or paternity and affiliation. A Sharia clerk of court may act as district registrar of Muslim marriages, divorces, revocations of divorces, and conversions. All 5 Sharia district courts created by PD 1083 are under the supervision of the Supreme Court. There is only one circuit court so far, which is located in Basilan. Divorce case that cannot be mutually settled by the parties is referred to the circuit court. The Zamboanga District Court has an acting judge in the person of Rasad Lagindeb. Only 2 full-fledged appointed judges are covering all 5 districts. The acting judge in Zamboanga usually handles only on average of 2 cases a month. The Zamboanga District Court has 12 personnel, including a researcher who delves into Islamic jurisprudence and other Sharia bases like the sayings of Prophet Muhammad to help the court mediate or litigate cases before it. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's top stories.
PHIVOLCS reports ash and earthquakes from Mayon volcano. The AFP and PNP discuss the deployment of additional troops to provinces with peace and order issues. The Philippine Information Agency, or PIA, launches a book series on the achievements of Philippine media. And the Health Department warns the public against self-medication using antibiotics.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter.
For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And it is 28 days more to go before Christmas. And
So fast.
And the nights are getting longer. Yes.
Cozier and colder.
Yes.
Why are you laughing?
No, because, syempre,
What? You know what? I don't know anything. You're always so sleepy.
Yes, I'm always so sleepy. I'm always sleeping in the afternoon now in the boardroom.
I know, but Christmas is my favorite time of the year.
Yes.
So yes, of course, it's cozy, comfy, and it's nice to sleep in.
And a lot of food.
Stop it with that. We're both on a diet. Anyway, that's your daily dose of the latest news
and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo.
And I'm Pia Rosas Moroto. Good day.